Okay, we're at the top of the hour for our first meetup of our second year. I want to thank Jon Stanton for coming back on year 2 and representing his CRUD with from a new perspective. I want to thank Ben Plaisir from Australia for being the man that makes sure that everything gets on YouTube for the greater Wappler community. We have, I think, over 5,000 views on YouTube now with our monthly meetups, thanks to Ben, and we really give a hat tip to Ben. And if we were, I'd ask for a round of applause for Jon and Ben, but since we're spread around the world, nobody would hear it anyway, so I'll just say thank you. But if there's, we have Wappler meetups once a month, the first Friday of every month. 4 p.m. Netherlands time, 1600 Netherlands time. You can do a search on the community for meetups to find future meetups. And I thank you all for joining us today. Without further ado, I want to introduce Jon Stanton from the UK, known in the forum as Site Street. Take it away, Jon.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, everyone. Mark, we were discussing a little while ago what we should do to kick off year 2, and sort of thought, well, actually, the Wappler interface has changed a little bit in the last year, and there's probably other ways of doing things. So the CRUD, some of you might remember the CRUD demo I did literally a year ago. Thought, let's do the same thing again, but with some slight differences. One, of course, being it's the latest version of Wappler, so anyone new to it won't have to look at a video from a year ago. And also, I thought let's go headfirst into Node.js, which I've wanted to do for eons, and Tom's chuckling because I know he's he's one of the people that's been crying out for or liking Node. So I thought, right, let's go for it. So I've basically set up a new project in Wappler. I'm using Wappler's built-in localhost server running Node. I'm using SQLite for the database. So everything is literally being provided by and handled by Wappler. I was going to include creating and setting up the actual project as well in this, and then I thought actually that probably is going to be better for an edited video, so it might be that I'll do that part and stick a sort of 5-minute or 10-minute video out for people to see the bit that you won't be seeing today because I've already done it. And also the other reason was we've been getting quite a lot of or another surge of people coming from Bubble, and I thought this would hopefully give a good insight into how it works in Wappler, and maybe just allow people, they get the 14-day trial, but also give them a feel for what you can do, and more importantly, the speed at which you can do it. So what I'm going to do is attempt to share a screen. Okay. Tell me if, can people see Wappler? Yep. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a dialogue and just check that you can see that. Oh, hang on, let me move. Okay, can you see this server actions list?
Yes.
Yep. So everyone's seeing everything that they need to see. Yep, excellent. Okay. In that case, let's delete that again. Okay, I've started this pretty much the same as I started a year ago. So we've just got a page with all I've literally done is created some rows and some columns ready to put our stuff in. There are no API actions at all, so we're going to do the whole lot. And the only other thing I've done is I've created the database. Database here, which is a single table with a handful of fields, and that literally is it. So here we go. I reckon I can do this in a little over 20 minutes. So let's get on. Right, so first of all, I'm going to create an API action for all customers. And in here, I'm going to do a paged query and call it all customers. And my table is just going to be that. I'm not going to do any sorting or anything, but I will come back to it because I'm going to add some filtering. So, but for now, I'm going to just leave it at that, and we'll save it. Oh, I'll tell you one other thing I said I'd do. I've got, if I switch, can you see my Safari?
Yes.
Yep, excellent. Hang on, this Zoom's great, but it puts everything over the top of everything you're working on. Right. I've created an ng rock within Wappler. So let me open the chat and I'll paste the link to it. There we go. So you should, if you go to that link, you should be able to see the page that we're building. So I've got all customers, and so in here I'm going to do a generator. No, I'm not. First of all, I'm going to do my server connect to use what I've just created, and I'll call it all customers. And so now I'm going to show them all in a table. And we're going to populate it with our all customers data. And then I tend to set all these on. And I'm going to give us all the fields. Why not? And so now if I save that and refresh, already we're seeing our live data, and I've already got one record in there, which you'll see there. So next we want to be able to edit it. So we're going to go back to our API and we're going to create, we need to select. Now, a year ago, I used data detail, and I thought, let's do something a little bit different just to show there are other ways of doing it. So this time we're going to do it through an action file. So I'm going to create one called selected customer, and I'm going to have a get variable of ID, which will be a number. And then we're going to have a single query and call it selected customer. And this is going to be our customers table, and our condition is going to be when the ID is equal to our get variable. And that will then return all the data for that record. And so that's it for the selected customer. So if we go back to our page, we're now going to add the server connect for that and call it selected customer. And this time we're not going to auto load it because we don't want it to load straight away because we don't know which customer we're selecting, but we'll have it ready. So there's our selected customer. We leave our ID blank because obviously we don't know who it is and we're not loading it anyway, so that's fine. And so now on our table, we're going to select the row and we're going to do a mouse click event. And in here, when it's clicked, we are going to load the selected customer script. And this time we're going to set the ID, and it's going to be the ID from our repeat. We're going to now create a modal. Now I'm going to call this add edit customer. And I tend to like that way of doing it. And then we're going to make some changes. Now I use code view for this because I just find it easier. So I'm going to have a span for add and a span for edit. And you'll see why in a minute. Customer. And we now need to create our API script for the add edit. And the beauty of this is we can do our add and edit in the same script, which means our form on the front end is only being done once, which means there's no repetition of code, which is a lot easier to maintain. So we're going to do an insert customer, and we're going to insert that into our customers table, and we get all our post variables, so that's fine. And then we're going to create our update customer, and here we're going to again do that, and our condition, it's automatically done it as posting the ID, which is great. And so now you'll see in our post globals, it's already created our fields ready to use. So now we're going to do a condition, and the condition says if our posted ID is greater than 0, we're going to update, right click and do else. We're going to insert. So in our single script, we're now able to edit and update the data. So now in our modal, under the paragraph, we're going to do another generator, and this time we're going to do the form generator. And our server action is our add edit. We're going to populate all the fields with our selected customer data. We don't want a save button because our modal gives us that anyway, so I'll delete that. And I'm going to make the address a text area. And now we can get rid of that paragraph that was there by default with the modal. So now we've got our field. So if I save that and view it here, we need to put the action in because we're not going to see it. So let's go back to our row. And here we've already selected our data. So now we're going to show our modal. So on clicking the row, two things happen. It pulls the single record out and it shows the modal. So there we have it. So now in our modal, we want to set save changes with a mouse click. And we're going to actually, before I do that, I'm just going to rename our server connect to add edit customer, which is worth doing if you've got more than one form on the page or more than one modal. So on our button, on our click event, we are going to submit that form. And then on the form itself, we're going, hang on, let me add, I'm going to add a notification so we can use that. So now on our form itself, on our Server Connect success, we are going to show a notification saying customer saved. We're going to hide our modal, and we're going to reload all our customers so the list gets updated. And in our offset, we are going to set it to the offset that we already had when we previous of what was already loaded. So if we're on page 3, we stay on page 3. Okay. And the last thing I do as a general habit is on our modal, I do a modal event of hidden, and I simply reset the form just for tidiness. So now we should already be able to open this up, edit something, save it, and there we go. And change it back. So there's our update done. We now want to do our insert. So in here, I'm going to add a button, and I'm going to call this add customer. I'm going to make it a primary color, and when clicked, I'm going to do 2 things. One, I'm going to reset our selected customer, reset, so that it's empty. And then I'm going to show our modal. So that should be our add customer done. Now, if we go back to our modal, you'll see up here, I put in those 2 spans. The first one, I'm going to say display hide hide when single selected customer. So I'm just going to click on the query, and on the other span, display show selected customer data query. And let's save that. Go back to Safari. And now if I click add, you'll see it says add customer. And if I edit an existing one, it says edit customer. So we're using exactly the same form and modal and everything, but we're doing effectively 2 different things. So now our last thing is our delete. So we're going to create an API for delete customer. And here we're going to have a get variable of ID, which is a number. And here we're going to do database action delete and call it delete customer. And from the customers table, we want to delete from our get variable. So that's now done. So we go back to our page, and in here we're going to create our Server Connect. And again, we're not going to auto load it, and call this delete customer. And our server action will be delete customer. And in our modal, I'm going to create an extra button. Now, Wappler, this is a little bug which I'm sure will get addressed at some point, but it always makes the modal disappear again. So I'm going to change the margin right to be auto. So it went off the screen, auto, so it sits over on the left. I'm going to make its style to be danger. I'm going to call it delete. And on our mouse click, I am going to load my delete action and the ID. And the ID, of course, is going to be our selected customer. And we want some feedback. So we're going to, on our server connect, we're going to do a success. And here is a notification again that says customer deleted. We're also going to close our modal again because we don't need it. And we're going to update our customers list. So our offset again is going to be what it was before. And that should be it. So now if I refresh, I'm going to add a customer and call it Professor Plum off at plum.com. 1, 2, 3 somewhere. Here we go. So we've now got our new record. And now if we click delete, it's deleted and we still get our message telling us it's deleted. So that's the CRUD finished. The last bit is our search part. Well, actually, we want to add a bit more here. So we're going to put in a paginator paging here. And so our data source is going to be all customers data, and it's going to be our query. And I tend to go for small. And here I'm going to just have a paragraph that says results, center that, and I'm going to do display inner text, and I'm going to change that to be all customers data query total. Results. And then over here, I'm going to have an input box, which I'm going to call filter. I'm going to change it to be a search type. You'll see why in a sec. Put in a placeholder of filter. And now I'm going to add, I'll go back to my all customers, and I'm going to add a get variable called filter. And in my query, I'm going to add a load of conditions, which says if the ID equals filter, and I'm going to copy that to the clipboard for speed. So I'm going to change that to or and say name contains, paste that, and then email contains, paste that, address contains, paste that, postcode contains, paste that, and telephone. So now when we click this, we've got our filter has appeared, and we are going to say the value of our input box. And then don't forget where we've got some actions that reload the data. We just need to put that in there. I didn't do this initially because I didn't want to confuse, so I thought I'd try and do it in a logical order. And the last one is going to be in our form success. And this is where we load. So we put it in here. So now, hopefully, we should be able to type in here, blah. And when we change this box to be a search rather than a text, you'll see a little X appears automatically when there's content in there. So hi, or record number 5. Doesn't matter which field we filter on, it just does it. And of course, as it does it, our results number updates. And if we had loads of records, our pagination would as well. And so I'm going to just one very quick thing in my, if I go to files, the CSS style, I've just added a class of hover hand, which is something I like doing, just to see if I in the row, if I add the class of a hand. Now, as we hover over a row, it just changes to the hand pointer, so we know it's clickable. And that pretty much is it. How's that? 24 minutes?
Yes, John. 24 minutes. You said 20 minutes.
I know, utter fail.
I'm glad you're not organising the coronation.
Thanks, Ben.
This is a tough room.
Sorry?
This is a tough room.
Very.
You did all that in 24 minutes and people are still complaining.
That's the Aussies for you.
Here we go. Let's start an international incident now. That was a fabulous presentation, John. That's just awesome.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Thank you, John.
Hopefully it just gives everyone a kind of very quick glimpse. To be honest, the setting up the project probably only adds about 5 minutes to that. So if anybody were to, I should be on commission from Wappler, shouldn't I? If anybody were to download a 14-day trial, potentially in half an hour after installing it, they could have a full CRUD system up and running on a Node.js local server.
Absolutely.
Tom, good call. Yes, it probably would. So I've been using my lovely hover hand class unnecessarily for all this time.
I just found that out about a month ago, and it's been burned in my brain now. I use that as often as I can.
I like it. Right. Get the hover hand, use the button class instead. Or the roll button.
Cool. But Ben, did you want to take some questions for John?
Well, showed a perfect example, no questions. The only thing is I do something about the ID field, and I'd probably make the modal a little bit wider, but they're just silly little criticisms. Sorry, John.
No. That's a very good good point. What I'm going to do, if I share again, can you see that again?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to do. That's a very good point about the ID. I would usually make that read only, and I would actually change the placeholder to be automatic, and that way we see that. So we can't do anything with it. And then if there was a value in it, you'd see the value.
Yeah.
So that tidies that up. And with the modal, I actually like using help text. And again, this a Wappler bug. It always, the modal disappears. But I would put ID there, and I will then change the column to be full width. I would remove the label, and I would do that with each field. So you just get a nicer look to the data, and that way you can then, it's actually a good little UI thing. So if I change a couple more, so make that full width, get rid of that and put in the help text. Name. I'll do one more. Help. Oh. The label, and now it's very easy to say, well, let's move email next to name, so we don't need that group anymore. I won't do any more because it will bore people, but already our modal is looking a lot better, and we could, of course, make it bigger. How's that, Ben?
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
No worries. You get that little bit extra for free.
Yeah.
So it shows that Wappler has done I've been impressed. I've knocked them right in the very early days, because I got on board with the Indiegogo project, so I don't know, 5 years ago, and I was quite critical of the features that they had for the front end design editing, but the last few years has absolutely transformed it, and so now you can really build out, particularly if you use Bootstrap, which I'm a fan of. You can build out really good looking layouts very quick and easily, and the only time I dipped into code was with the spans for the add edit customer at the top. Other than that, I don't think I touch code at all. So yeah, it's all good.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, sorry, Mark. It would be interesting to find out some of the feedback from some of the Bubble users, to find out how long something similar to that would take using that system. Because as far as I can see, that demonstration we've just seen is just unbeatable. I mean, I think a lot of us have created a lot of CRUDs in the past using various different platforms, and the time taken for each different one can vary enormously. But that is just about, I reckon, as fast as you can possibly get to make that particular type of system.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to get feedback from recent users of other systems just to see how long it would take them to do the same thing. So I think judging by the amount of bubble users that we see coming to the forum, I think some stage in the future we're going to get a bit more feedback in that regard from these users. So it'd be good to see that.
Yeah, agreed.
That's an excellent point. And I would ask Ben to consider when we post this on YouTube, could we start in the description by saying CRUD in 30 minutes or less?
24 minutes, yes.
Just, you can do 24 minutes or 30 minutes or less, because I think whatever you want, it's up to you. That was just darn impressive. I think, John, if you could take a look at the chat, I think there's a question in the chat for you.
Is it possible to do a demo just like this, but use REST APIs instead of SQL? So is this using the API features within Server Connect, I assume? Which, I mean, yes, I'm sure we could. It should really just be a case of instead of the action scripts that I created for the add, edit, delete, it would be calls to APIs. Mark, is that what you meant?
I'm not sure who asked the question.
It was Mark. Sorry, it's Mark Wren.
Yeah, so this is me. Hi guys.
Hi.
So this I have to say, this was super helpful. There's a lot of concepts in Wappler that I just haven't been able to connect together. So watching this was very, very helpful. You know, again, as I've said in the past, we don't do direct SQL connects. We always have a piece of server software in between, just for added security and control. So I would love to do the same thing, but instead of making SQL queries, just do REST API calls. I think I know what to do now that I've watched you, but you know, it's just still a little weak in my mind.
It sounds to me like the various API actions that are available would do what you want, so long as it returns JSON to the front end.
Okay.
Then you'd be able to do it in just the same technique.
Now this solution would be distributed as what? So I want to deploy this to a server, you know, a DigitalOcean or something. I would release this as a Node.js project. How would I deploy this thing?
Well, this what I did today was a Node.js project.
Running on
the
your
one
machine, yeah.
Yeah, just running locally. So long as you've got hosting that supports Node.js, you can deploy it there. The various different database types, I use SQLite just for simplicity. I'm new. This is my first dive into Node.js, so I only decided to do it in Node.js literally yesterday. And I just thought, actually, this will be a helpful thing for people to see the Node side of things. The actual building of the page, you know, all the actions, the front end, back end, all of that, you're doing exactly the same way. So I was able to click through as if it was a PHP script, which is how all my other projects have been.
Yep.
So long as your server supports whichever database you're using and supports Node, then you can deploy to that. Did that help?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
No worries.
Very good. Does anybody else have any questions for John?
It's not a question really, just a thank you to John. This is Andrew.
Hi.
Yeah, it was. We talked about this last month, so it's very good. I've been working on my version, I suppose, and it's taken me about a month to do what you did in 24 minutes. So, so I can see that there's. I think who was it? Somebody last month said that you can find out things when you're stuck, you can actually find out things. And once you know what you're doing, you can be really, really quick at getting things done. For me, it's just quite a steep learning curve, but I more or less got there. So thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. To give you a bit of context, I spent about 3 months, maybe 4 months, several years ago to get to what I did in 20 odd minutes. So, and the learning curve, I mean, half the features that Wappler has now, it didn't have back then. But the bit I grappled with the longest was the concept of App Connect and Server Connect, the front end and the back end, server side, client side. And the penny dropped that the server side, the Server Connect API bit just gets data fed into it and spits data back out, and that's basically all it does. And the front end, client side, sends it data and reads what it gets back. And that was the kind of concept that I spent the longest before the penny dropped. Trying to work out, hang on a minute, how, if all this data is there and I'm just not showing it on the page, you could look in Server Console, a developer console, and see the data, and it wasn't very secure or whatever. And then I realized, well, hang on a minute, no, because at the server side is where all security is, and if it doesn't send the data back, then there's no data to be exposed. Things like that. So I spent a good 3 or 4 months really doing something and it working, and thinking, oh, why did that work? And then doing it again and it didn't work. Well, why didn't it work? Whereas now it's purely using it all day, every day. It's now completely second nature, and you kind of do something and know what that's going to do and why it's going to do it. And you can't beat time for that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping for, is that I put in the time to learn it, but then the next 10 projects, will go a lot quicker. The first project is is the struggling one, but there's a lot of learning involved, and that's fair enough. That's just an investment.
Yeah, I play five-side football, and I organise the players every week, and needed a way for people to book in and pay or whatever. And I thought, well, let's build an app, and did it in an evening. With everything, for me to add a game, send out an email to everybody in the database saying the game's here, them log in, say they're playing, go to PayPal and pay for it, me picking the teams, all of that. And I did it in literally start to finish in an evening. I just said to myself, if I can't do it in an evening, I haven't got time. And did. And I've gone back to it and, fine-tuned and added some extra features. But things like that, this is what staggers me with Wappler, is it's not a no-code tool. It's a very, very fast a way of doing solid code incredibly quickly. That's where it really wins. And I think people thinking it's a no code tool, or assuming that it is, or wanting it to be, are slightly missing the point.
Yeah, very much. I looked at all the different tools, or as many, not all of them. There's millions of them now.
Yeah.
But I definitely wanted something where I had control over the code, ownership over the code. And also a choice of backends as well. A lot of them lock you into a particular backend. So this is ideal. It's definitely got more of a learning curve, but I think that's because it's a lot more powerful. And you have a lot more control. So that's fair enough.
It also, when you get good at it, sets you apart from other people, because I kind of like the fact that
Mm.
If someone found out I was using Wappler, I'm not going to suddenly be out of a job because they'll pay $600 and buy Wappler,
Yeah.
because I know full well they've got to also invest a shed load of time getting up to speed with it. So that sets me at an advantage, and I think that's not a bad thing. If you can learn something and do something within half a day, I don't think it's worth doing.
Mm.
Bit harsh.
I can say if this time I can show my screen to show what I've done since we left. I know Mark gave me some homework to do, so I can show that if we have time, but I don't know what else is on the agenda for today.
Mark, what do you reckon?
Absolutely. Please be our guest.
I've set it so you can share your screen, so go for it.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So I've done something quite similar. Where's Wappler there? Quite similar to what you were showing, John. But instead of using tables, I've used cards. Just because I like I want cards basically, so I want that look. So this is a bit cruder than yours, but
Beautiful.
So,
so
there's nothing wrong with that.
thank you. I've got, let me see, what are the main features? So it should be showing only 4, but for some reason it shows 8. So I've got pagination down here. I've only got 8 courses, so there's nothing to show there. What else? I've got some filtering going on, and I've got search. The only thing about the search is it's because I'm using Postgres as my backend. It's case sensitive search, so I have to sort that out, but that's not a problem. I can fix that.
You can do that with the server connect action. If you convert everything to lowercase, would be probably how I would do it. So it doesn't matter what you type in the box.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've looked at this, so I'd have to, I think it's this one.
Or maybe actually if Postgres is case sensitive, that probably wouldn't work.
Yeah, Postgres is case sensitive, so I'd have to, I'll figure out a way anyway to do that. I've got the modal working. That was a big thing that I was struggling with last time. So now that comes up. Whichever one I click on comes up. I haven't got anything sophisticated going on yet, like editing, like you showed just now, John, but I can definitely do that.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to ask is, what if I didn't want it to be modal? What if I wanted to click on this and go to a details page, and then they hit back and they're back to this main list? Because I'm not necessarily sure if I want to have modal. Probably will, but I know you're a fan of it, John.
I am, only because I think it keeps everything very tidy. Yes, you can. And the way I probably would do it is using the browser action, and I'd probably set up routing as well. But what you can do is, so long as the page you're going to, you just use get variables in the URL. So if you had an edit page, you'd have edit ? ID = 1, something like that.
A separate page. Yeah,
and then your separate page.
Sorry to butt in.
Yeah.
I would suggest maybe have a look at the off canvas component. We've just finished doing some stuff like that. We got rid of the modals. And we preferred the off canvas component because it covers the full length of the screen, so you can get a lot more data. The only adjustments we had to make to the standard canvas, that's it there. Yeah. The only difference we had to make was we made a slight tweak to allow different widths and sizes in the CSS. But aside from that, we could put a lot of data in there, and it was all nicely shuffled off to the side of the page whenever it wasn't being used. Plus
that
on
just-
mobile devices as well, you get quite a decent depth of data there.
That's a good idea.
So
And
it's
it comes in
pretty
from
good
the
for
side.
usability. Then you can just get rid of it when done.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And you can create as many off canvases on a page, just like you can modals, and you can mix and match. So you can have some modals and some off canvases on the same page,
Right,
and they all
yeah.
play merrily together.
Yeah. I mean, typical thing is, you have a modal that pops up and then there's a button to find out more, and that might go to the off. Okay. Other little things I kind of struggled with and have solved was things like this down the bottom here, getting that date to come out, which is probably, once you've done it once, you know how to do it, that's fine. And just sort of having this layout so that it works. So it works, on a mobile view, etc. That took a little bit of understanding. It took me a while to understand that you can set the kind of the breakpoints and everything. So it's just going through that learning curve. So I think, as we discussed, you just sort of need to have a bit of patience and determination, and also having a project to work on. I think that helps as well. I'd much rather do that than watching videos and stuff like that. But
Definitely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Stop sharing my screen now. Thank you.
Mhm. And a month isn't long for completely to go into a completely new package, set up everything. A month isn't long at all.
Yeah. That's in my spare time. It's not full time.
No. So yeah, that's impressive.
Thank you. Somebody said with Postgres you can use iLike in the query. Yes. My problem was, I'll just share my screen again. My issue was that, let me see if I can find it in Wappler. I'm not going to be able to find it now, am I? Right. Is it the server connect? Oh, hang on, it's here. It's this. So in here, I'm using conditions. So this is how I've got the search and the filter working. If I come in here and manually edit this so that I use iLike, then I lose all this. I don't seem to be able to. So this query down here doesn't take into account this logic up here.
Well, it does, but it's the question marks.
Yeah. Okay.
So what it does is it replaces the question marks for the parameters. So if you click on the parameters tab, that's it. You'll see that's where the question mark gets replaced with those.
Yeah, one is the first
which is
one.
Yeah, exactly. Which is getting it from your top layout. The alternative is do a custom query.
Well, that's
you can.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking. So if I might be able to do where did it iLike? So I have tried. I think I've tried this. I won't get into it right now, but that would be the sort of thing that I might be able to do to make it case insensitive. So
I've never used Postgres, so that's exhausted my knowledge anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. Cheers all. Anyway, there you go.
Oh, good stuff.
All right. We're headed up toward the top of the hour here. I want to reach out and ask if anybody has any questions for John, or just general questions or discussion for the group. And I would like to try to finish these in about an hour for our YouTube videos. So anybody have any questions or discussion topics, or there's something they'd like to see next month, or something they'd like to present?
Could I show you a preview of what we can expect when Bootstrap 5.3 arose. Just the mode, the theme mode or color mode, whatever they call it. Is it possible to share my screen?
Yeah, go for it, Ben.
Just hang on a sec. Share screen. And I want this, I think. Share. Right. Now, in the this is a node project with the template and the index page. I've also copied the JavaScript directly from Bootstrap, from the Bootstrap site itself. Here I've got just a form, and in the main, in the template, I've got SVGs for the different symbols that I'll show you. This is one of the symbols. And we've got the toggling of the theme. I'll just show you the results. This is the result. Now it starts off, if you haven't done it before,
We still see
with the setting. Can you see that?
No, we're still seeing Wappler.
Oh, goodness. How do I, oh, well, in that case.
You might need to stop sharing and share again, either your browser or your desktop.
Ugh.
Wappler's easy. Zoom is hard.
My goodness. Oh, new share.
If you stop sharing,
Yeah.
it's at the top of the screen.
Oh, what a pity.
Have you got stop sharing?
You have to stop and then share your entire desktop.
Have you
That's
got
it.
it now?
Yeah.
Good job.
This is the browser. Can you see that?
Yes.
Now it starts off with the auto mode. The first time that you go into the site, and you can change that to the light mode or to the dark mode. It's very easily done using Bootstrap 5.3. It's still in an alpha stage, so it's understandable that Wappler haven't included it yet. But it's a very exciting feature for, well, that we can look forward to. Hopefully with Wappler 6, Bootstrap will have come with the final version of 5.3, and that's how easy it is to change the mode. I just thought I'd show you that.
That's excellent. And then you're turning the meetup into a news program, so we can so everybody can be know what's happening in the future. That's wonderful.
So that's it.
All right, very good. But I want to thank everybody for participating. We hold these clips once a month on the first Friday of every month at 4 p.m. Netherlands time. That's 1600. You can find links and information in the forum. All you have to do is search for Meetup. If you have something to present, is something very simple, like Ben just presented, for example, is news for everybody. People are going to be excited about that. Please reach out to me in the forum and mark 1, and I'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, I'd like to say congratulations to Jon and all you folks in the UK with for your new king. We're very happy for you. And long live the king. And I look forward to seeing everybody again next month. Thank you so much for joining us. And I hope everybody has a very safe and prosperous May. Take care.
Thank you, Mark. And
Mark.
happy birthday to George
Tom.
today as well. I know he's not here, but
Here's the
sneak that in.
All right, very good. All right, folks, have a great day. Talk to you later.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.